Today we're going to look at the Exploit to Explore Continuum. I like this tool because it's extremely flexible and can be beneficial to all tiers within a company. I'm sharing this simple case study because, and this is saying something, after creating this, every client I've used it with has found immediate value. We're going to look at a common example, start very simply and build it from the ground up so you can see how all the pieces work together. As you might imagine, there are two sides, exploit and explore. Exploit generally refers to improving what you have today. Think of process efficiencies, cost-cutting measures, and really anything companies can do to improve on a current product or service. Explore largely refers to inventing new solutions and to some degree improving existing solutions, but really you're looking to create something new. Zooming in a bit, this tool describes three categories, which can be translated as innovation strategies or portfolio or product strategies. This tool works equally well with each tier. The first category is focused on efficiency and is generally nested below the exploit end of the continuum. Think of efficiencies broadly as ways to optimize your current successes. So an existing product or service, maybe you can make it cheaper, get a better margin, or you can make it faster, maybe you need fewer resources, those types of things. The second category is focused on growth and generally nested below the explore end of the continuum. Growth, as I mentioned, is about invention and creating the new. The third and widest reaching category is sustainability. There are a lot of ways to focus on sustaining. If we're talking about products, companies create new products to replace old ones. This is the widest reaching category because there are many ways to sustain a company, and it can come from both the exploit or the explore side of the continuum. Now, in the spirit of connecting strategy to execution, I want to share three areas where I found great success in leveraging this tool. These are by no means the only way to use this tool, but I do believe they are a great starting point. First, to align leadership teams on existing and potential innovation strategies. Second, to visualize where budgets and resources should be leveraged. And third, it's a great tool for hiring managers to see where they need additional people or where they have a skill deficit that will prevent them from achieving their goals. Let's get back to looking at efficiency and balancing that with growth. Both sides of the continuum represent valuable strategies, but they are very different in the type of skills that they need to be successful. As I mentioned, I like to use this tool to visualize existing strategies, looking broadly at the existing portfolio and eventually taking a more focused view of various products and services which make up these portfolios. We start here because we can't create a path to the future without an honest assessment of where we are today. One of the things that I find most often in organizations is, yes, there are some strategies, but they're not ubiquitously understood across all tiers of the organization, and many times not even amongst the leadership team that's driving those strategies. So we obviously want to be aligned first. There are traditional ways of doing this, like looking at revenues and focusing on whether or not we met a quarterly target. We like to take a deeper look at some of the predictive metrics that are going to help us understand whether or not we're likely to achieve our strategies. So a key and often overlooked aspect of strategic alignment is understanding the organizational culture, the leadership styles, and the team skills that are in place today. When the strategy is growth, the culture, styles, and skills are going to be necessarily different than when we're focused on efficiency. And we see this all the time in startups who naturally need to have a growth mindset. Whether they be leaders or individual contributors, they have different skills and passions and decision-making styles than leaders and teams who are focused on optimization and efficiency. This is where successful companies really differentiate themselves. They have a strong recognition of their strategies. They know that if they're running an efficient and optimized shop, that they need people who are focused on process and measurement, that they care about the information clarity, and that their overriding desire is to be highly reliable. Let's contrast that with a growth focus. So these are organizations or maybe specific products within a larger portfolio where we have people and leadership who are naturally driven by improvement and change. They value flexibility and being agile in the work that they do. They're looking for speed and they learn by iterating. As I mentioned, one of the key values of this tool is to predict whether or not our strategies are going to be supported. And if not, what do we need to do to fortify our organization to be successful? Here's a quick insight. What I see most often is companies attempting to grow by using the same approaches, strategies, processes, and skill sets that they use for efficiencies. Unfortunately, this just doesn't work. Growth requires its own culture, its own mindset, and set of practices to be successful. Okay, let's look at a recent case study from my firm ThinkWyn. A client wanted to understand the current state of their product portfolio. First, on the Continuum, we established a baseline by plotting everything from current budgets and resource allocation to the people and skills necessary to produce the products. Next, we got down to the different processes and specific methodologies they were using. It turns out their product strategies, this includes all the things we've talked about, budgets, process, people, and not surprising, their organizational structures, were heavily weighted towards efficiency. Let's focus on process and methodologies for a moment. There are definitely overlapping principles across the continuum, like being actively connected with your customers through the entire product lifecycle. No matter your strategy, this should always be true. A growth focus requires some different customer insight methods, though. For example, instead of evaluating current customers and their use of an existing product, for growth, we want to be constantly searching for unmet needs. Now that's with existing or potential customers. In short, we should have different product teams using different methods to engage with customers because they have different strategies. By using this tool, we are able to clearly see two things. First, because the teams were rewarded for working in the most efficient way possible, all product teams are using the exact same approach and the same methods. The products who were supposed to be focused on growth were using evaluative research methods. What they really needed was to use some of the generative approaches we talked about for their customer insights. The first finding highlighted the second finding. The organization as a whole was lacking the people with the experience in generative research methods. So not only were they incentivized to focus on evaluation, they were missing the internal skills to be generative. It wasn't that they didn't have the desire. They just lacked the organizational authority to first work this way and really to get the training or to hire the skills to help them to build the skills internally. The result was great. We were able to use the continuum to show that a key factor in the lack of growth was tied directly to the lack of skills, sure, but really came back to the lack of organizational support and the right ways to seek growth. Regardless of the strategy you're focused on, you're going to be most successful when you're supported by a culture that has the shared values and structures, skills, and even the appropriate systems in place for you to be successful. And that's where this continuum can help visualize those things for your organization. One more quick insight. Growth and efficiency can be accomplished simultaneously. This happens in very mature organizations who understand how to cultivate the flexible mindsets, which allow for multiple strategies to be pursued and to be successful at the same time. My recommendation, get a baseline of where your organization sits on this continuum today. Get a clear sense of what your objectives are. Are you seeking to be efficient? Do you want to sustain what you have today, or do you want to grow? Where is your time and your energy and your people being focused? Try to understand which of these levers you're pulling today and which ones you can pull in the future. Are you running plays around business process? Are your products and service designed to sustain or gain efficiency? Are your management and organizational structures aligned to your strategies? How about the marketing and advertising strategies that you might have in play? Notice where those things traditionally fall in this continuum. So if you're putting a lot of your budget into marketing and advertising, but you don't really have a new value proposition, this tool can highlight where you're putting budgets and energy today and maybe where they should be instead. I hope you find value in this tool, and I hope that it's given you a better sense of how you fit on the Exploit to Explore continuum. And as always, I welcome thoughts and feedback on any of the topics we've discussed, and if you found them valuable, please let me know.